Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing well this fine, lovely Tuesday morning. It's lovely to see all of you here. So I was in Kelly's session a little bit earlier. So welcome to all of you. So hi, Vicki. Hi, Natalie. Awesome. It's so great to see all of you guys. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm really excited to be here with you on this very first Financial Sense Automation Summit. So really excited. So I'm going to be talking about what you need to get started with accounting workflow automation. So a lot of the foundation that Kelly was talking about earlier, I'm going to be building on that and giving you some templates and other things that you can use to really make sure that you're ready to take the dive into automation in your workflows. So we have a lot to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So if I don't know you, I see a lot of people that I do know, but if I haven't met you yet, my name is Heather Satterley. I'm a CPA. I am also the Director of Education and Media at Woodard. Woodard is the company that puts on the Scaling New Heights conference that just wrapped up last month. We also have education community and coaching and consulting that we offer to accounting professionals. I'm also the co-host of the Happy Hour with Liz and Heather. So hopefully you have joined us for that webinar series. We meet twice a month and we talk about applications in the accounting world. So best practices for using them. What do tech stacks look like for different sizes of firms and different niches? We'd love to have you join us at Happy Hour and at Scaling New Heights and Woodard. So awesome. All right. Oh, and thank you, Natalie, for the compliment on the picture. I was really excited to get those brand new photo shots. So awesome. So we're going to be diving in to our automation, starting with the automation mindset. So talking about how do you need to be thinking as you are going through the process of automating your workflows. We're going to talk about how to capture your processes. So what does that look like? So, Kelly talked a lot about, thinking about making lists and thinking about what you actually do. She actually broke apart that client onboarding process. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into that. We're going to take a look at the tools of the modern firm. So what are the tools that firms are using today? Predominantly cloud-based firms are what we're going to be focusing on. Then we're going to talk about strategies to get your team and your clients on board. So as you automate, you're going to be going through change. And so there's a lot of change leadership that needs to happen within an organization when you're implementing new technology, when you're implementing new processes in general. Anytime there's change, we need to be super focused on how to manage that change. And then finally, we're going to wrap up the session today on implementation strategies for success. So what should you be thinking about as you actually move forward into implementing automation within your firm? So let's go ahead and dive in to mindset. So mindset is super important when you're thinking about automation. And so we're going to kind of talk about the different, characteristics of the automation mindset. When we think about doing manual processes, accountants by nature are very process oriented. We love our lists, we love our checklists, and we tend to be very linear in how we do things, which helps us. But when we're thinking about automation, we have to take it a little bit further and be able to analyze the process and look for opportunities to actually streamline and automate the processes, thinking in a data mindset. So let's kind of take a look at what the characteristics are of an automation mindset. So the first is that you're focused on efficiency and effectiveness. So it's not good enough to just be efficient. Our clients engage with us because we're bringing value to them, right? We're bringing value through our expertise, our knowledge. And so we also have to be very careful, and Kelly spoke about this in her session, that we don't lose that personal touch and we don't automate solely for the sake of automation, right? We need to make sure that we're walking that line where we're increasing efficiency within our firms and within our practices and with our client, but we're also making sure that we're not compromising the effectiveness of the processes and the services that we're providing or damaging a relationship. I've definitely seen times where people have automated the person right out of the process, and clients don't really want that. They're engaging with you because they value what you bring to the table. Um, Other characteristic of an automation mindset is a commitment to continuous improvement. So automation is important, but as we know, our technology within the accounting space is rapidly evolving, right? We've seen so much advancement in the past, 10 years. We are going to continue to see a lot of changes within our space, and so we need to make sure that we are focused on continually improving our processes and making sure that that we're staying up to date with not only what's new out on the market. Kelly talked about that shiny object syndrome, but also what is new within the tools that we're already using. One of the biggest mistakes that I see is that when people get into that shiny object, kind of mindset mode, is that they forget that the first place that they should be looking is within their already existing processes. Technology is changing continuously, and our wonderful app, vendors and sponsors and partners like Financial Sense, they're constantly introducing new features and functionality within the tools we're already using to meet our needs based on the feedback that we're giving them. So what I see as a big mistake with some practitioners is they jump to the next thing without looking or asking the question of their current partner, does this, here's a new, functionality I would like to add to my current workflow. Is this something that you support, or is it something that you're going to support in the future? So always look for that. Uh, an automation mindset is completely customer centric. Yes, we are focusing on our internal processes. Yes, we want to free up our our manual tasks that we're doing, but it really should be focused on how are we bringing more value to our clients, right? Ultimately, that should be our goal. I've seen it happen in certain cases, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this, where you find a tool that you think is going to be really great for you and your firm, but it doesn't work for the client. The clients won't use it. The clients find it very cumbersome when there's too many clicks. It's not intuitive. So if you are looking at a tool, functionally, it could be perfect for your workflow. But if your clients will not engage with it, it's not a great tool. And even though you may automate it right out of your customer satisfaction rating. Um, to have an automation mindset, you also have to be proactive. So you have to be, this kind of leans into the continuous improvement, right? We need to be proactive. We need to be not reactive to the needs, but actually looking forward towards how do we make this process better? How do we make our internal processes better? And how do we make our client experience better? And then agility. So an automation mindset, we remain agile, we remain flexible. We don't get locked into this is, exactly how we have to do it. We want to be thinking with an open mind of, again, that continuous improvement. So those are the characteristics of an automation mindset. And I start with that because it's important to understand that if you are a very manual firm and you haven't really started automating, you're going to have to think a little bit differently, and getting into that continuous improvement mindset, and having that, yes, absolutely, Kathleen, having that flexibility is crucial. So absolutely. So as Albert Einstein said, we have to learn to think in a new way if we want to see change, right? So, what do they say the biggest mistake is? If you want to see something actually change, you can't do the same things that you did before. You actually have to change that process in order to get the results that you're looking for. And Kelly talked about that in her session as well. And Tammy's asking, how do you get the client to use the process, though? We're going to actually talk about that in a little bit. Yes, Michael, absolutely. Insanity. That's a definition of insanity, right? Is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, for sure. So, and Ross, I love that. Try to break it before you buy it. We're going to talk about that too. So all good things. All right, so we're going to dig into processes. I know Kelly spent a lot of time on processes. I approach them a little bit differently. I'm a very, I like everything in checklists, so I'm going to approach it a little bit differently than Kelly did. But it's basically the same information. So we'll go through this rather quickly so that we can focus on tools and actually going into the automation process. So when you're thinking about processes, what are your processes in your firm? That's one of the first places you have to start, right? Is you have to take a process inventory. What are you actually doing? Right? When we are going through and thinking about streamlining our firm and finding technology to increase efficiency and customer satisfaction, we need to know what we're actually doing. And so the best place to start is to make a list, just like Kelly said. So take that process inventory. On the next slide, I'll actually show you what my sample process inventory looks like. So you have an idea of how to figure out which processes should I start with, what's going to give me the most bang for my buck. You also need to determine which clients are using each process. So once you know what processes you do, bank reconciliation, bill payment, expense management, financial reports, audit if you're a CPA firm, whatever it is, you need to understand how many of your clients are actually using that process. And then you want to determine the most widely used, and that's where you want to start first, right? So you want to look at where am I going to get the most bang for my buck and my efforts of automating this process. And we're going to talk a little bit more about quantifying the value proposition of going through that automation process. Because as we all know, when we make changes, it not only costs money, right? But it also costs our time, and it affects every person that is involved in that process, including your team and your clients. And then finally, we want to determine how well does the current process work, right? So we don't, as I said at the very beginning, we don't automate for automation's sake. We are looking for continuous improvement. So how well does the current process work? You want to determine the variability across your client base. Are you using different apps to solve the same problem across your entire client base? Well, that breeds inefficiency, right? If I have, half my clients are on one accounting platform and half my clients are on another client accounting platform, I have to know two accounting platforms. That doesn't typically lend itself to consistency and efficiency within a firm. And then determine the profitability of the process. So as you're going through and you're documenting your processes, you want to be thinking about, how much time is this taking? What are the costs that are involved in that? So this is an example of a process inventory worksheet that I actually use for myself, and I actually use it for my clients that I work with. So in this case, super simple spreadsheet to create. What you're going to do is list your clients on the left-hand side, and then you're going to make a column for each one of the broad processes that you're doing with a client. And these were just some examples that I threw up here. You could have other ones like workers' comp audits. It could be all kinds of different things that you offer for your particular client in your firm. And what you're going to do is you're going to put a little X underneath each process, right? That each process that is applicable to the client. So what you're going to do is you're going to determine from the totals what percentage of your clients are actually using this process, or you're using this process to service them. And that's going to give you a really great kind of reference point of where should I focus my attention first as I'm going through and automating it. Where am I going to get the most return on investment for the efforts that I'm going to put in to automate the process? So in this case, 100% of our clients are doing month-end close. That'd probably be a pretty good place to start, right? And then bill pay came up at 80%. So that could also be something that I'm going to look at. Now, as I'm kind of deciding which of these is going to, that I'm going to do first, I want to look at the profitability piece. So don't forget to look at, if my monthly close is really extensive and it's going to be, a big project, but I know I can implement across 80% of my client base a super efficient bill pay process. That's a great place to start, because first of all, it's going to be a quick and easy win, less of an implementation, and it's going to boost your bottom line a lot quicker. So you want to be looking at those different variables. And then you'll notice at the bottom of this table that I have firm. You also want to take into account, are you also doing these processes internally for your firm? Okay. So this is the sample process inventory, super easy to make. In Excel, you can reproduce what I created, and it's a great way to see exactly what you're doing across your entire firm. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to prioritize the processes that scale. So your profitability, right, is going to go up when you have increased capacity. You want your margin to go up and standardization across your firm, right? Variability is going to pull your profitability down. And so where we see variability across firms is in the different applications or the tools that we use to service our clients, the complexity across our clients, right? So if we have somebody with super simple processes, but then we have another client that has more complex processes like inventory and bill pay, that actually affects the processes that we are able to scale, right? Client interactions also add a component of complexity and variability to the process. And then anything that's manual. So if you still have clients that you're writing checks for and printing them out, right? And putting them in envelopes, well, that's a manual process, right? Anytime you have to print something, it's a manual process. So we want to understand that that adds variability to the process, and that is going to drive our profitability down, and it's also going to drive the ability to scale down, right? Every time we have to make an exception for a particular client, now we're changing a process, we're adding variability that's going to lower our profits, and it's going to, decrease the ability for us to scale. All right, so capturing the processes. I love what Kelly said in her session earlier. She said, start with the end in mind. And absolutely, she is 1,000% right. So the first thing that we need to be looking at is what is the desired outcome of the process, right? And if we're thinking with an automation mindset, remember that we're thinking about continuous improvement. So in some cases, it's not enough to just take a manual process and then put it into Excel, right? Then you're really just changing kind of the method of doing the same thing. We want to be thinking about how do we make this process more efficient and more effective, right? And we're always keeping in the back of our mind that profitability piece, right? So the desired outcomes where we start. Next, as Kelly went through in her list, we have the input. So what is the data inputs that we need to complete that process? What's the data that we're looking at? For an accounts payable process, that's a bill, right? Or we have a purchase order, we have a bill, we have the payment, we've got the reconciliation to the bank account. Those are all data points that we need to understand that are coming in and going out within the process. We have interactions. So interactions with applications, interactions with our team, interactions with our clients. So we need to take into account who are we interacting with, what are we interacting with, and where is that data flowing from piece to piece. We need to focus on the dependencies. So that's the order of operations within the process. So can I pay a bill before I receive it? Nope, can't. So for me to pay a bill, there's a dependency, meaning I have to get the bill first, and I probably need to get it approved, and I need to verify it, right? So those are the different steps. And then finally, we're going to capture all the details. Now, I love what Kelly said earlier today. She mentioned, don't overcomplicate things. And I love that. I love that she said that. However, I am just going to say that as you scale your firm, the more details that you capture within a process, the better. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to make a little checkbox for every little thing that you do, but there needs to be enough information that you're able to fully delegate the process to another person. So when they actually are going in and they're completing a process, they know exactly what they need to do. They know exactly what data should look like. They know exactly what they're responsible to do, and they know what a successful outcome looks like. So you have to put enough details within your process so that they are able to do that. Okay, so that is our next step of capturing the process. So this is just a super simple process documentation that I use in my practice and with my clients, where you can go through and I capture the steps. So what's actually happening, what the order of operations is, what data is involved in each step. So what data am I capturing? What data am I creating? What app I'm using, or if it's a manual process, the role of the person, if there's a person involved, what is the role within that process? And then what is the dependency of that process actually getting completed? So what are the steps that have to be done, the data that has to be there, the application that has to be used, what has to be there in order for that to actually happen. So this is just a way, and again, you do this in Excel, that you're getting all of these process thoughts, the things that you're doing every day, down and documented on, in a place where you can actually look at it and start to analyze it. And now you know exactly what has to be done. Now, once you understand that process, you're ready to start to think about um, looking at tools, right? Looking at the tools. But if you don't know what your process are, how can you possibly start shopping for tools? Because you could see something that says it does what you need it to do. But what happens if you start implementing that and you realize that you forgot a step, or you forgot that you needed two levels of approval, and you had already chosen an application that only supported one level of approval. So you really do need to make sure that you're looking at all the data before you go out and you go shopping for your tools, your automation tools. All right. This is an example, and I love this. I included the link here. Did you know that Financial Sense has a whole bunch of templates that you can download that actually show you that have kind of done some of the stuff that I just showed you about regular common accounting processes. So this was an example. I was just talking about accounts payable. I showed you the way that I do it. Here's a flow chart that they have out on their website, and you can use the URL that you see that you see down there to go and view these particular templates. And no, you don't have to have a paid account to look at the templates. So you can go ahead and go check that out on their website. So some great resources there. Thank you, Financial Sense, for providing those. And they don't just have accounts payable; they have other processes as well. And you can start with what they have and then modify it for your own processes and personalize it. So yes, thank you, Financial Sense. I totally agree. All right. So now that we've gone through, whoops. Oh, and of course I embedded that for you guys so that you guys can click on the slides that are provided to you and actually go right to that page. Forgot I did that. Feeling kind of proud of that. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the tools of the modern firm. So this is an intro to automation. Many of you probably use a lot of the tools that I'm going to be showing you, but many of you, it might be, new to you. Now, I borrowed this from Woodard. This is something that we teach as part of our Woodard Ideal Practice model. This is what we see as the 4 buckets of technology that we use within an accounting firm. So we've got internal operations. We've got communication and collaboration, both with our clients and with our team. We've got service delivery. So the services that we deliver to our clients, the applications that we actually use to do that. And then client specific applications that we use. So industry specific, such as inventory, legal, manufacturing, functional solutions, expense management, things like that. And then data syncing. So when we have clients that have data that could be siloed in particular applications, and we need to get that data out of that application into the accounting system, we can use data syncing tools for that. So let's go through really quickly, because we don't have a ton of time, some of these tools of the modern firm. So in internal operations, we have practice management. Financial Sense, right? That's what that is. It's task management. It's practice management. So you can see your workflows across your entire firm, and you can see how your team is completing those workflows. And it's also a place for you to house your processes. So that's what practice management is. Proposals and billing. So there's apps out there that can help you automate that. When I first heard about that technology, I'm like, I don't need that. I don't do a lot of engagement letters every month. Why would I need that? And then when I actually tried it, it was life-changing, because those proposals, when you're doing them manually in a Word document or Excel, whatever they are, take a long time. You're talking 30, 45 minutes, sometimes longer than an hour, right? And when you're using an app like Ignition or Anchor, where you can create templates of your proposals and then set up automated billing, you're talking about getting a proposal done in 10 minutes tops. So love those. If you aren't using those, it's definitely something I would take a look at. Automating that process will definitely change change your life. It really will. And once you start doing it, you really won't ever want to go back. Payroll and human resources. I'm pretty sure that most of us are using automated payroll systems. I hope that no one on this call, if you are manually calculating paychecks, you don't have to be doing that anymore. So you can definitely payroll, kind of a no-brainer. And then one that I don't see a lot of firms using, but I think that is also life-changing, is customer relationship management. So some apps have this built in, but they don't do it really well. So there's something about a true CRM that allows you to capture information within, I'm going to take a drink of water in a second, to capture information about the client conversations, client history, all the emails in one place, everything that's happening with that client in one place. And that's what customer relationship management solutions actually do. It allows you to capture deep, detailed information about your clients. And what's cool about it is once you create that database within your CRM, you can actually start looking at it across your entire client base. So you can see how many S corps you have. You can see how many partnerships you have. You can, see how many, different aspects of your client base. Then we have communication and collaboration. So secure file sharing is a standard at this point in the accounting industry. If you're not using secure file sharing, you're putting yourself and your clients at risk. And so we're talking about, apps like ShareFile. We're talking about Dropbox, Box. There's a bunch of them out there. Smart Vault, just to name a few. E-signature. So capturing signatures through DocuSign or Adobe Sign. Dropbox acquired HelloSign. There's different ones of the e-signature. Video conferencing. So not meeting in person. I think most of us have the ability to do that after the pandemic. Also creating videos, Loom videos that you can share with your clients is a way to really automate and drive efficiency in your practice. If you need to, imagine this, if you find that you're sending an email or jumping on a call to help clients to accept your invitation or to invite you as an accountant user in QuickBooks, right? Why not just create a video that shows them how to do that? And then every time somebody requests that, you just send them a templated email that has that video embedded in it. Now you're saving yourself and your team time, right? Messaging platforms such as Teams and Slack, and then password or provisioned access. So LastPass, 1Password, Practice Protect. Those are the types, and what that does is it protects your clients and protects your firm against cyber attacks. And then service delivery, we have general ledger, tax prep and advisory, accounts payable, billing and accounts receivable, reporting, auditing, data review. There's apps for pretty much everything at this point in our accounting space. And then again, we talked about the client specific. So those are really the tools of the modern firm. Now, this survey just came out. If you go out to firmofthefuture.com, and you can also go out to the Woodard report, we've covered it as well. There was a new accounting technology survey that was just launched by Intuit just about a week or so ago. And so you can see how the industry is feeling and where they are as far as automation within their practice. So this was asking, where do respondents expect technology will help to save them time with the compliance tasks in the next 12 months? So this is what your peers are saying, is that, we've got, for preparation and tax filings, we've got, almost 98% said that is going to help them to save efficiencies, bookkeeping, financial reporting, cost accounting, and budgeting. I'm not going to read it to you, but you can see that these are the main players of where our industry sees they're going to be able to automate and save time and be more efficient within their firms. All right. So now that we've talked about the tools and how the tools and looking at, getting yourself ready for your processes and then looking at types of tools to help you automate, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, right? How do you get your team and your clients on board? Everyone is resistant to change, right? So everyone is resistant to change. I want to tell you that everyone is resistant to change. If somebody says, I love change, they don't really love change. They have a better tolerance for change. But the reality is that change is hard. It's hard. And when we try to say that it's easy, that's when we get ourselves in trouble. Oh, this is going to be easy. This is going to make your life better. It's going to be easy. This is going to make your life better. Yes, we can definitely say that. This is going to be easy. No, we don't say that. I learned that the hard way very early on in my career, where, I told a client, this is going to be easy. What's easy for you is not necessarily easy for others. And so we need to be very aware of that when we are working with others. So it's going to be hard. It is also going to be worth it. And that is a quote by me. It may have been a quote by somebody else at some point, but this is what popped into my head. So I gave myself attribution. So being upfront with yourself, your team, and your clients that it is going to be hard, but on the other side of it, it's going to be worth it. That keeps them going. And it sets the expectation as you're going through the process, which is everything. Setting expectations and communication are everything when you're going through an implementation. So best practices to get your team and client buy-in: be honest. Be honest. Don't tell them it's easy. This is going to be hard. I'm going to expect you to, dig in and help me with this. You're going to have to try new things. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's also going to be amazing on the other end, and you're going to be happier. Set expectations. Involve your team in the process. Don't just spring it on them without any input, right? Encourage the feedback and listen to the feedback and acknowledge the feedback. It's not enough just to say, tell me feedback, if you don't actually listen and validate their feelings. So we have to make sure that that it is a two-way street. It's not just the feedback's coming in and it's just sitting somewhere and we're just forging ahead. That's not real feedback unless you're actually listening to it. Create an action plan with targets and milestones. So this leads into, the number 2 that I said was the communication, setting expectations and communication. Creating an action plan with targets and milestones that helps everyone involved in the process to feel like they really understand where you're going and what's going to happen. And what does that do? That alleviates the fear and the anxiety around the change, right? So absolutely. And then continuous communication. Again, that's like the big takeaway here. You've got to communicate and you've got to have a plan, right? Just jumping in isn't a great way to go. All right. So next we're going to talk about implementation strategies for success. And I actually went backwards because I really love this. Like this guy jumping into the ocean, right? That's how we feel. Standing on the edge of that cliff is terrifying. I remember I jumped off of the stratosphere in Las Vegas a couple of years ago. And the hardest part of that whole process, I'm terrified of heights, by the way, was standing on the edge of that building, knowing that I had to take the step off. But what I'll tell you is, as soon as I was in the air, it was like this huge release of endorphins, and it was amazing. So, anyway, I digressed on talking about that image. I just felt like that was a great image because that's really the feeling once you're in it. It feels really good. So make sure you're doing your research about your solutions. So use the web, use AI to ask, here's a problem I have. Can you give me some suggestions? Now we have, Chat GPT, and we have, Claude, and we've got Bing, and we've got all Copilot to help us to research. So use that, leverage that. Attend conferences with a plan, right? When you go to conferences just like this, virtual or in person, understand where the processes that you should be focusing on, going back to that spreadsheet that I provided you with that shows you across your entire client base where you pinpointed would be the biggest ROI for your firm. Interview other practitioners. So you're here in this summit. Ask other practitioners, what are you using? And I can see you guys actually doing that within the chat, asking, what are you using for proposals? What are you using for passwords? That's where you're going to learn what other firms are using and how they work. Attend demos and webinars. So if you're interested in a product, sign up for a webinar or reach out to them and get a demo, and then start a trial or use a test environment. So we know QuickBooks has a test environment. Lots of apps, most of our apps allow you to start a trial. Start the trial, throw some data in there that's with your firm. You should play with it and your team should play with it to see what they think as they're vetting the technology. That's going to help you to see, what does the UI look like? What is it, the experience like, right? Because it's got to feel easy and fit into the way that your team works. And if you don't ever take a trial and you go through a whole implementation, on the other side of all of that, expense and getting in could actually be, you could be disappointed at the end if you haven't really gotten in and taken a look at it. And then always review the product roadmap for your tools. Where are they going? Right? There's some great tools out there that may not have a feature you're looking for, but it could be on the roadmap and you shouldn't discredit the right tool because it doesn't have it right now. Always have that conversation. Okay. So doing your research when you're looking for applications, I really love GetApp. It's getapp.com. It's a great place. It's got a lot of different apps on there, and you can actually put in different features and do comparisons across different applications. So a really great place for you to do some research. Then make a plan. So one of the things, when we're looking back at that spreadsheet that I had of the processes and the clients, I had said, the monthly bookkeeping was 100%, but the accounts payable was 80%. And I talked a little bit about the cost benefit of doing that implementation. Start with an easy win. I just saw somebody talk about email templates. That's an easy win. If you're not using email templates in whatever you use, Gmail, Outlook, a CRM, then there is a huge opportunity there for you to automate in your firm. Yes, email templates are automation, and that is an easy win, and it's a delighter because all of a sudden you don't have to rewrite how to do something with a client or where they should upload files. It's templated. All you have to do is choose that template, hit send. You've now saved yourself 3 to 5 minutes every time you have to explain that. So that's a huge thing. Focus on your expected ROI. Be realistic about your timelines, right? If you think it's going to take a week, best practice, it's probably going to take 2. Okay, maybe even 3. All right. Think about the time of year. We don't want to do any implementations in January, February, March for sure. But think about, when are you going to actually have the capacity? When is your team and your clients going to have the capacity to give their attention to this new technology and the new process? Think about your capacity and the client involvement. Okay. Selecting the right technology, you want to take a look and see if there's an integration with your existing tech stack. So if there is, that means it's less disruption for you, your team, and your clients, right? Integration with workflow platforms like Zapier, Make, and Power Automate are really help. I look at that as like the glue of the internet in your workflow. So it's a way for you to automate workflows across different applications, right? And there's going to be a whole session on Zapier a little bit later with Courtney. So I am so excited for that. I can't wait to see it. So you can use those workflow platforms to start to build automations between the different apps that you use. You want to look at scalability. Does it work now for your team? But what are your goals for your business? Does it work now for your business, I should say? And then what are your goals? Are you looking to grow? Are you looking to go into a different niche? You need to be focusing on the scalability. And then you also want to understand the ongoing cost structure. So what is the cost structure? When was the last time prices were raised? You want to take you want to understand that. So once you've done that and you've taken a look at all of those, you want to assign ownership to the implementation process. So responsibility drives positive outcomes. When somebody feels responsible for an outcome, they will drive towards the success of that outcome. If no one within the organization owns that particular process, what ends up happening is people don't make it a priority in their lives, right? So you want to make sure, and it doesn't have to be just one person. It could be a team of people, but you should have accountability and build that accountability by assigning responsibility to people within your firm. Create process improvement teams. If you're a solo practitioner, that's probably you. However, what I will say is, if you're part of a community, right, then your community can be your process improvement team, right? So you can reach out to other practitioners that are solo practitioners that are feeling the same pains and have the same processes that you do, and you can work together. Okay. Determine what failure looks like. So if you start through an implementation, what does failure look like? And define a kill switch. If I get this far and this doesn't work, I need to stop spinning my wheels and I need to pivot and find another solution. So make sure that you're thinking about that because you need to be able to recognize that. Because how many times I know it's happened to me where I get through and I keep pushing it, even though it's not working, get on the other end of it and realize this was not the right solution. So defining that kill switch within your implementation is really, really important. So I stole this from Kelly because I adore her and I love, 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 love this quote of hers, which is stop overthinking, just do one thing, right? So stop overthinking. What I'd like to say is you don't have to do it all at once, and that's what I meant by this: is don't do it all at once, right? And focus on that one thing before you move on to something else. So, question: when you have a big team, how do you get everyone in your team to use your processes and update their progress? Charlene, that is an incredible question. And the answer is that accountability, right? Is setting the expectation of the team of this is what we expect you to do. And then making sure that there is one person or a team of people that is responsible for making sure that the team is actually following through on it. So putting in those metrics, right? The metrics and the safeguards to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Accountability. What is a good resource to eliminate printing out physical checks? We use Melio Payments for a few of our clients. So there's lots of apps out there to eliminate physical checks. You know, we have Bill is an accounts payable process. Melio Payments, again, you can definitely, you know, use Melio. That's a good one. We've got some new players to the market. Makers Hub is a really great one now that's just come out. And it's AI generated. There's Settle, which is also a new accounts payable platform. There's a ton of them out there. And what I would recommend is you could go to GetApp and ask your community, what are they using? Because there's so many accounts payable platforms out there that can eliminate your checks that, you know, you're going to need to do your homework. And question, what about looking at what takes the most time first? So Michael, you could do that for sure. Here's the thing. If I'm doing something that takes the most time for one client, that could be indicative of a different problem within my firm, right? That could be the indicative of, you know, one of the things that I had said was scalability, right? Is that when I'm doing an automation, I don't want to automate for automation's sake. Is that the right client? Now, if you are, you know, in Satterley Training Consulting, my firm, that was my bread and butter, was doing automation. So if so, sometimes I would look at what's taking the most time first in a consulting engagement with a client. But if I'm looking at processes for my firm across my entire client base, probably going to look at what's going to give me the most ROI across all of my clients. All right, everybody, we have just about a 1 minute left. You guys are amazing, and I'm going to stick around. I'll see you guys again later today at 4 o'clock. We're going to be doing a panel. So thank you, everybody. I hope this was helpful for you, and I'll see you guys later on today.